there was one thing that I could say is the key to great parenting, we're going to be touching on that today.
Which we wish we would have.
Fully understood.
Right. I feel like we did it.
I feel
But I
like we,
wish we would have understood what
yeah,
we were doing
yeah.
because it matters so much.
Yeah, I wish we had someone telling us from the beginning about this because I feel like in our parenting journey, we figured it out along the way. But if we had known right from the beginning, in fact, ironically, I was actually daydreaming about this the other day. I'm like, I wish I could go back and like start again with my first kids and fully use these strategies because they are so important. They make all the difference. They make the difference between good parenting outcomes and poor parenting outcomes. Like it's so critical.
It's a game changer. And ironically, it's so strange. Like there's societal beliefs,
The whole culture of society, I think.
but they're wrong.
Right.
Like the
That's what
data
I'm
says
saying.
one thing and culture's like, and parents are saying, well, no, do this because
Yeah.
it'll make your kids more resilient. It's like, no, it'll wreck your kids. And then everybody wonders why there's such a absolute mess among teens and young adults
Yeah.
right now.
And in fact, I mean, the more I understand this topic, the more I just can see so clearly when parents are discussing the issues they're having with their children of all ages. I'm like, here's
Here's
why.
why.
This is it. This is the cause of all parenting problems. This is the solution for all parenting, for positive parenting outcomes. Like it is the thing.
It is the thing.
And that seems like such a bold claim, but we're going to get into why that is, of course, what it is, and why it makes such a huge difference. I received a text from a woman in my group, a mother in my 28-day challenge, which is a challenge for moms to help them create habits that will support them in their personal growth journey as a mother. So she asked me this question. She said, my daughter is about to be 3.5. Up until now, parenting felt pretty easy. I really need to level up now to be able to keep my calm when she's really upset. She and her 23-month-old sister often both want to be in my lap or my arms at the same time. I'm setting limits because I'm trying to avoid feeling touched out. I'm eager for your parenting course. I'm feeling both inspired and depressed about the fact that you have had no childhood tantrums for 16 plus years, which is true. We have not. And in case you don't know, our oldest is 22 and our youngest is 8. Okay. So I responded to her saying, thank you so much for sharing this. This is a tender age. You're right that this is often when parenting starts to feel more intense, especially now that she has 2 children. You're not alone in this. These moments when your daughter is really upset are exactly when she needs your calm the most. This is a season when your strength as the adult really matters. And I want to emphasize that for a second. Because this is something you talk about in your coaching with men.
All the time.
This is something I talk about. It is our job in this relationship with our children to be the adult. Okay. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, obviously, but not every parent behaves like the adult.
Very often, if we're holding up the mirror here,
Right.
you look at a situation like, hey, it appears that you're acting as childish as your child.
And it often appears that your child is acting just like you act.
Yep.
But, and here's the difference, because this is what parents don't understand. There's a thing, and you probably know the name, I forget. It's essentially our children mimic us, but in a way that is unregulated.
It's imitation without
Yes,
regulation.
exactly.
Yeah.
Imitation without regulation. So our children imitate what we're doing, but they don't have the ability to regulate it like we do. So we can get upset and we have a regulated upsetness.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Many adults don't.
Right.
And that's the childish part of them.
Right. And so then our children often imitate that and exaggerate it because they lack the regulation. They literally lack that part of their brain that can regulate emotion. I'm going to touch on this for 1 second because it's critically important. What that means essentially is that your baby and your toddler do not have the brain capacity. They do not have a part of their brain that allows them to self-regulate. That means something as simple as do not let your baby cry it out because your baby doesn't know how to self-soothe. Your baby was created, evolved, grown to co-regulate. They co-regulated while they were growing in the womb, and they don't immediately learn how to self regulate just because they're born into the world. It doesn't work that way. They literally don't have that part of their brain. It's actually traumatic to your child. And
Yeah.
you might be thinking, well, no, I did it and my kids are fine. There's no problems. But there's actually a lot of research on it. And in fact, those methods, those sleep training methods, and now this is crazy, was started by a man in Germany. I forget his name, but I can look it up. A man in Germany who taught these methods to help train and raise Nazi soldiers because it was a method that was intended to break the bond between parent and child so that there was not this emotional connection, and in a totalitarian state the connection, what's the word I want, the loyalty is meant to be given to the state, to the government. One of the best ways to do that is to break the parent child bond. Now, one method that was used to create this was the crying out method. By not comforting your child when they're crying, by sleep training them, by keeping them separate from you, all of that was used to break parent child bonds. So,
And create attachment issues.
and create attachment issues, which we are going to be discussing today. Because when I talked about the thing that creates all of the problems in your parenting life, that creates all the behavioral issues, that creates the mental emotional challenges of your child, and in fact created your mental emotional issues because they came from your parents, is attachment disorders. All of those things can be tied back into attachment disorders, which essentially means a broken emotional attachment between parent and child. We're not just making this stuff up like our preference. Don't sleep train your children and don't respond to their cries. This is real and it has research behind it to back it up. And it creates detachments between parent and child, which then become the foundation of all of the behavioral issues. Tantrum thing is one example. And one of the reasons I say, and I've told people like we haven't had tantrums, and I'm kind of just guessing like 17 years. But one of the things that switched that is early on, again, like we already said, we didn't understand all of this fully. And so with our older children, we had more attachment issues, right? That we weren't fully bonding with them. We weren't fully meeting all of their needs or responding to every cry or whatever. And we had tantrums. But as I learned this, as I learned how to use attachment with my child, as I learned how to really bond with them, how to really meet their needs, that's when the tantrums went away. Because when we meet their needs, when their need bucket, their emotional bank account is full, then you don't have these behavioral issues. You don't have tantrums. You don't have acting out. You don't have the mean behavior. You don't have the teenage rebellion. Like it carries over into adulthood
Yeah.
because then that is the foundation of a healthy, mentally and emotionally healthy adult because they have a strong attachment with their parent. Now, this is so huge. I wish I could just somehow get people to understand how significant this is. It's huge. It really is that big of a deal.